Hello everyone and welcome once again to ThursDev. I'm your host Luke, and today we'll be continuing our series on the week-by-week, step-by-step guide of how to make your game, whether it's your first or your 51st. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been working on the more creative side of the pre-production process, wherein we began by defining the general outline of our game and production plan, and put together the pitch document that will hopefully help us to generate interest in our game. Unfortunately, not everything can be expressed entirely through lovely purple prose and pictures. Today, I'd like to spend some time on the proper way to set up a production schedule, also referred to as a production or staffing plan, which is the essential producer's document, the one document that the project will live and die by, and the one document that is as essential to the development process as the GDD. When you think of a schedule, typically, you probably think of a simple calendar that includes times and dates. If you've worked with collaborative projects before, you may also have dealt with task assignment and perhaps even interdependencies. The production plan is, though generally owned by the producer, a document that's created collaboratively among the team, as it affects each member of the team directly. It serves as a comprehensive task list of everything that needs to be implemented in the game and all of the components thereof, which is then given a man-month requirement individually to help define a, most likely rough, timeline for the development engagement. I devoted an episode last year to explaining the concept of the man-month in video game development, so I'll simply link that in a card above for now, but as a brief recap, the man-month is a measure of cost that's based on the complete unit cost of one member of a project team devoting a month of time to a task. The month can further be broken down into man-weeks, man-days, or man-hours. This also means that a task that can be tackled by multiple people at once can accrue multiple man-months of work in the span of a single real month, so it behooves you to remember that one man-month of work does not equal 1 month of real time. Got it? Good. If you don't, the aforementioned video will hopefully help shed some light on the subject. Back to the task at hand, however. The production plan usually requires that the lead designer and producer first work together, while frequently conferring with the executive team as necessary, on building a feature list. The feature list is populated in an ideal situation by breaking down the component parts necessary to fulfill the pillars as defined in the pitch. Continuing to use the iconic first-person puzzle game Portal as an example that I hope that most of my viewers are familiar with, we would take our first pillar, portal-based puzzle solving, and figure out what that would entail. Typically, we divide our production plan's itemized feature list into disciplines, so we'll look here at 3D art, 2D art, animation, effects, audio, design, production, and programming. Sometimes you would also see marketing, sales, QA, and so on. For 3D art, we need a portal gun, buttons, turrets, science lab environmental components, character, platforms, spikes, weighted boxes, and if we were only in the pre-planning stages and not sure if there will be more, other environmental puzzle objects. For 2D, we're going to need HUD elements, game menus, decals for things like explosions, and signage and game menus. For animation, we need turret animations, platforms, character animation, portal gun animation, door animations, environmental animations as well, stairs, walls, and so on. We also might want to put in some incidental animations, though in practice, there weren't that many in Portal that weren't purely physics-based. Effects would include portal effects, portal gun firing effects, turret bullets, suspended platform lasers, energy ball effects, and so on. Audio should include ambient lab sounds, turret audio, platform audio, portal gun sounds, footstep sounds, and other environmental audio. Design will need puzzle concepts, level designs, portal mechanics design, physics definitions, and so on, and programming will inevitably be an immense laundry list of implementation of portal mechanics, physics implementation, character movement, portal surface determination, button functions, button trigger script implementation, portal display implementation, since we can see through our portals into what's on the other side, and many other sundry mechanics implementations, engine integrations, and what have you. The producer's tasks will ultimately have little to do with the pillars, but inevitably include things like documentation prep, authoring, marketing plan preparation, QA management, and other sundry producer tasks that are related to the oh-so-important QCD. We would likely also wish to include QA in this list on their own area, but QA ultimately touches on everything and has really only one task that's largely contingent on the rest of the tasks on the feature list, so we'll add in QA in roughly every group. After we've got our feature list prepared, the head of each department, or project leads in each discipline depending on the studio, would work together with the producer to assign man-day values to each task. In some cases, this comes with a fair bit of negotiating and at times even discussion back together with design on cutting or revision of mechanics. Additionally, the tasks will be at least tentatively assigned to members of the team so that we can ascertain how much real time will ultimately be needed for each group. This can be a few days' work, but ultimately, after each task has a man-day cost associated with it, we can see the total man-day and man-month cost on the project. This on its own is an invaluable number to be aware of, but we need to establish dependencies before we can call our schedule ready. We would need the portal gun to be done by the 3D artist before an animator can touch it, and likewise, effects frequently need to wait for animation to finish. These tasks can certainly cascade, with an artist finishing one item then moving on to the next while the animator takes on their tasks, but ultimately a project can't have all members working on everything at once, as there are going to be elements that rely on other tasks to finish first. Our producer and designer would, in this case, collaborate to create a timeline, setting start dates for each task, and the man-day costs associated would then set an implied end date thereof, which would in turn become the start date for the dependent task. This process would continue until every feature and every task is accounted for, and we have what's known as a Gantt chart, displaying an ideal development timeline. Further double-checking and sign-off is of course required, but ultimately, this can then be used to create a simplified version of the schedule that would simply show a month-for-month breakdown of discipline and required staff as dictated by our chart, and therefore a schedule that can be shared with potential publishers and investors that will also give us a target development time. Will this be accurate? It's very hard to say. Ultimately, the savvy producer will know their team well enough and create buffers for development time. I always worked from the perhaps pessimistic credo of take whatever you think it will take and add 20%. This is going to be a living document, of course, and in practice, many development environments won't adhere to this schedule, as odd as that may sound. The agile methodology, to which so many studios ascribe, preaches frequent iteration and reiteration, so that also should be factored in, and some concessions made to the chance of features changing, getting scrapped, or completely rewritten, as we work on finding the fun, as they say. The producer will be updating this always. In some studios, this is a good 80% of their daily duties, but even though it's subject to frequent and wild change, this document will always provide a clear overview of all the development tasks and ensure that once the team is into production, everyone should have a clear view of the light at the end of the tunnel. Next week, we're going to assume that our pitch is passed and our budget is approved, and it'll be time to move into the daily grind of making the game itself. But that's it for this week. Thank you as always for watching this episode of ThursDev. I hope that you found it interesting and entertaining, or at least one of those two. And I hope that you'll consider joining us again next week, or if you're in the mood, checking out our archives of other videos. If you'd like to join our little collective of gamers who love both playing and making games, feel free to subscribe, and YouTube at least might show you our new content as it comes out. As always, YouTube is a mystery. Otherwise though, thank you as always for joining us today, and I hope that I see you next time. Take care.